Hello love beams, welcome back to a brand new video. Today's video is going to be all about surrendering control predominantly. So to any of my fellow control freaks out there, I've got your back. I know a lot of people, when they hear the word control, they're like, no, I'm not a control freak, I'm not a control freak. Part of what we're going through at the moment, breaking down the matrix, is actually allowing the control to disintegrate. We have, whether we've known about it or not, we have been controlled for many years, and we have been under the misillusion that we have been free, and the truth is actually coming out as we speak right now all around the world with lots of different things. You may see it in people that are having reactions about things that you haven't known them have a reaction about since they were a child. Maybe somebody's having a bit of a tantrum like a child over something and you're like, what on earth? This is everybody's healing coming to the surface right now, and this is no different. What I want to talk about is no different. Now, a lot of people ask me, Lucy, how did you go from being a project manager, working in technology for 15, 20 years of your life, to somebody who literally just surrendered, and now you trust that whatever happens, good and bad, and I'm using those words for human so that you get it, and you just know that it's for the best good of yourself. You know that it is for the journey that you need to go on. You know that there is a lesson to be taken from it. You know, how have you gone from being this person that was so uptight and so expectation driven and so results driven? You know, part of being a project manager, you've got to deliver projects on time. You may have like a 10,000 line plan and you've got to meticulously get through them. So how have I gone from being such a control freak, let's be honest, to, for probably 2 or 3 years after I left that environment, say 2.5 years, I literally just winged my life. I went from one extreme to the complete other because I had been in this misillusion. I'd been under the illusion that I had been free. And I'd had freedom, because all of a sudden I did have freedom. I didn't have to turn up to a desk on time. I didn't have to be somewhere. I could literally go anywhere around the world and do what I wanted to do and run my business, because that's what I had set it up to be like. And it's a real challenge to go from being so controlled and controlling to somebody who literally just surrenders. So let's talk about how we do that. How about that? Do you guys want to know how I did that? Because I think it could be really quite powerful for each and every one of you to be able to acknowledge and step into. First and foremost, before we can go into how we resolve anything like this, we've got to step up and we've got to acknowledge that we are that in the first place. So, grab a piece of paper and write down on a piece of paper what areas of your life you potentially could be controlling. Now, I'm going to give you some examples just because I think it helps you, helps get your brain moving if I give you some examples. So for myself, I had to be on a certain train every single morning. I had to make sure that I was in the office by a certain time. I had to make sure that certain things were done. And I'm not talking things that set me up for the day. There was just a pattern that I had to make sure that I did certain things in when I used to go to work on the trading floor. Okay, it's extremely interesting, because a lot of people would say, no, that's just you, that's just your diary, that's just the way that it is. But actually, the best way that you can get the full potential out of your body is by switching things up all the time. So if you are somebody that, you know, you have to have a particular meal on a particular day, or you have to do exercise at a particular time. So I want to be honest again, as I always am with you, I want to be as vulnerable as I possibly can be. I was the girl that, unless I exercised first thing in the morning, I wouldn't go, because I'd get distracted, or I'd get, you know, tied up in something, or, you know, I'd have my ego massaged at work and they'd be like, but you're too important to not have you in these meetings, so you're going to have to work through your lunch, or you're going to have to stay late. So I was the person that would surrender what I knew was good for me, because, you know, like I was in a situation where I wanted to be in control. I wanted to be the best project manager. I wanted my next promotion. I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. So, you know, and you can be like this with your children. You want the best for your children, so you're a bit controlling. Now, I know that this is a challenge for us to actually open up and recognise where we are potentially controlling. I've given you a couple of areas, so maybe pause the video now and come back to it shortly. I mean, it might be obvious to you. You might be like, oh my God, I'm so controlling over what I eat. I'm so controlling over my partner. Oh my goodness, I'm so controlling about this. Now, just because you are having awareness of it doesn't mean that you can't get over it. You can't move through it, okay? And that's what I want to talk about today, because we need to accept that despite whether we've known this or not before now, we are a spirit, we are a soul living a human existence. Okay, just feel into that right now. We are a spirit living a human existence right now. Now, for some of you, you will be like, what are you talking about? I am a human being. I am literally a human being. You know, this is what I am. This is how I am. But actually, that's where the control has taken place that you might not be aware of. If you stop and think about it, and I spoke about this briefly on Sunday service, if you think about it, if you were to cut your brain open right now, and this may be something really useful to help your children comprehend that they are so much more than the physicality that is in front of them. If you were to cut open a brain, if you were to look at a brain, maybe you don't even need to cut it open, but if you were to look at a brain, you would not just see thoughts coming out of it. You wouldn't. You just wouldn't see that happening. However, you know and I know, we have thoughts all day, every day. What do I want to have for dinner tonight? What do I want to wear today? Who do I want to speak to today? What do I want to do? What do I not want to do? Like, there are so many thoughts. I mean, there's just a couple, but like we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts every single day. Not that most of us are aware of 95% of those, but that's the amount of thoughts that we have each and every day. Some of them are just on a continual loop, which is why we make the same mistakes over and over and over. So we know that thoughts exist, however, we can't see it when we cut a brain open. Likewise, when we cut a heart open, you know, and some of you may have had to do these awful experiments at school. I know I had to do one. I can't remember what animal it was, but it was just gross. And when you cut a heart open, you don't see love pouring out of it. You don't see the emotions of what that animal or that conscious being has gone through. I mean, thankfully, I've never seen a human heart, thankfully. But I can't imagine that love hearts would come flying out of it and, oh, well, I love this person and I felt this and I had this emotion and I did this and I did that. Like, I can't envisage that taking place. So, but we know that love exists. We know that we have these feelings. We know that we have these emotions because we have tears that roll down our face. We have this joy that comes out of us. It exudes from us. So if we use that example right now in our brain and in our heart, that is our physical versus our soul. Now, your soul is constantly talking to you. You know when you get that moment of, oh no, I'm not going to go right, I'm going to go left instead. You know when you get those moments? That's called your intuition guiding you. That's your soul. Lucy, go the other way. And then what happens when you go the other way? More often than not, you will meet somebody, won't you? Or you'll see an animal that you've not seen in a long time, and it will just be, you'll be like, wow, I wouldn't have seen that if I hadn't come this way. Now, most human beings do not acknowledge that or appreciate that or find the value in that. However, as we learn to surrender, as we really let go of the control, because it makes no sense. Why would I all of a sudden get a feeling, rather than going right, which I know is the way to go, why would I want to go left? But when you trust that and you actually follow it and then you start to get the gold, that is your soul starting to speak to you. That is really truly what I call surrender. So essentially what has happened over the years, and I can only speak on behalf of my own journey, and I know I've got thousands of people that follow me that have been through similar things, and like my mentors and stuff, they've been through very similar things as well. And essentially what happened was, as I like really broke back in 2014, like my physical body gave up on me. I physically couldn't do it anymore. I had to get out because my physical just couldn't carry me through anymore. And it was after that I had to learn, if you want to survive, you need to listen to this internal voice. And I'm not talking the noise in your head that just ticks and ticks and ticks. I mean this inner guidance. And I know you all know what I'm talking about. You know, when you eat something and you, oh, well, I probably shouldn't have eaten that because now I feel a little bit sleepy, or I feel a little bit out of whack. That's your intuition. And you can have that intuition with people. Have you ever had somebody walk into a room and you just be like, nah, there's something about them that I just can't deal with? Yeah, it's your intuition kicking in. Maybe you've thought to yourself, oh, maybe I'll just leave it 5 minutes, and then you get 5 minutes down the road and there's been a car accident and you're like, my goodness, if I'd left 5 minutes ago, maybe that could have been me. This is your intuition. This is your soul. This is your spirit waking you up and saying to you, there is something greater than you. And when you can surrender to that, and that's what I did. In 2015, I went back to the trading floor, and I'll be really honest with you, for the first year back, I went back in October 2015, and for the first year back, I was like, this is cushy. I was earning amazing money. I was working less hours because I was a contractor. I literally had no commitment. I had no loyalty, although I'm very, very loyal with whoever I work with. And I am one of those people that dedicate everything. However, because I wasn't looking for a promotion or anything, I would leave the office about 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I would do my professional Muay Thai and I would run my own business, which is what I was doing. However, a year passed very quickly, and it wasn't until my best friend died that I actually was like, what are you doing? You're literally just falling back into the same trap. And it took my best friend to pass for me to go, enough is enough with this. It's amazing how quickly, really quickly, we can just surrender what we know to be our truth and go back to the ease, the comfort of getting paid a salary and, you know, having the creature comforts and knowing that I'm going to be busy between 7 o'clock in the morning and 5:30 at night, which I know sounds weird because most people want more time to themselves. But what do you do with yourself if you're not in work? You know, how are you going to busy yourself up? So there is comfort in being controlled. There is comfort in the fact that I had to be on a train by 6 o'clock in the morning. So I had to get up by 5:15. It's just that. You know, you need to recognise that these are the programs that we've been living in. And actually to surrender them is very quite scary. It's very quite... Great English, Lucy. It is scary. It's a scary place to be before you start doing it. Right now, I couldn't imagine ever going back to that life. I can't. So between my best friend passing in November 2016 and January 2017, I kind of went on a bit of a journey. I kind of gave myself a very harsh talking to. And it was, listen, you have to get out of what you're doing. This is not where you are supposed to be. And again, my intuition kicked in and I started working on my businesses harder. I started doing all of the things, not because I wanted to work harder, but because I knew I had to get out of banking. I'd been told, I was actually told in 2015, I had this intuitive feeling, download is what I call them these days, but back then it was just like this real feeling that I had to get out of banking. Banking was going to change and I wasn't going to like the kind of place where it was going to be. I saw like what I now call as my visions. I didn't really know back then what. I just got these almost like insights and I was like, God knows where that's come from, but whatever. And I saw that the banking industry was going to change significantly and it was really going to change and things weren't going to be like they used to be. Q 2020, I think that's been delivered in a massive way, right? So I had to surrender because it was one thing after another after another. My health got stripped from me. My best friend was taken from me. Then I had another health issue that nearly killed me. And it was just surrender, surrender, surrender. And really, since September 2017, when I finally walked out, I skipped out, let's be honest about it. I skipped off of the trading floor for the last time. That is when I started my real surrender. I surrendered to the fact that I had a mission on the planet whilst I was still working in corporate. So I was earning the money, I was building my business, I was like, oh, God knows what I'm going to be doing, but I know that I've got a role on the planet. I know that I have got something that the world needs. I didn't know what it was by then. The how's irrelevant, guys, literally. And this is what a lot of us don't act because we need to know the how, and it's completely irrelevant. That's called control, which is quite apt for what we're talking about. So your soul is this infinite being. It is so vast, it is so huge, it is so powerful, but we are looking to contain it in this little human vessel that we've got. Like mine is little. I'm only 59 kilos and I'm 5'4", so I'm dinky. So my massive soul, this massive energy that I've got, is being contained in this tiny little physicality right now. And I'll be honest with you, for many, many years, I allowed that to take place. Now I don't. Since I surrendered, and the way that I did that was I identified the areas that I had control, which is why I gave you that exercise to do a short time ago. Once I had identified those areas of control, I looked at, okay, what can I do to change that? What can I do? Like literally, physically, what can I do? But also, what do I need to do with my mindset? What is it that I need to start planning or preparing or, stepping into to be able to surrender some of this control? And the biggest epiphany that I had, like I said, I skipped out of the trading floor in September 2017. In October 2017, I got on a plane, I went to Dubai, and I was there with one of my girlfriends. And that's when I really took my first leap to surrender. And I actually threw myself out of a plane. Bit extreme, I know, but that was really when I realised I was holding on to so much. I was holding on to the material stuff. I was holding on to friendships. I was holding on to relationships. I was holding on to just so much that had been holding me back and weighing me down. And it wasn't until I jumped out of that plane that I recognised really quite how free we can be as long as we've got the guts to do it. And this is the thing, most of you are sat in a space of control and you will not surrender to your soul because what if I lose this? What if? Now, you guys know, I worked on the trading floor, I earned a huge salary. I gave up a lot of money, and I don't see it as giving up. But for the terms of you guys to humanise it and to conceptualise it, I had a huge salary. And I don't say that to brag. I say that it's brave what I did. I quit my job. I quit my security. Everything that was secure, I quit. The thing is, between September 2017 and 2021, which is when I'm filming this video, the person that you see is totally different. I've gone from being controlling of myself, my friends, my partners, my relationships, like everything, to being divine love. And I truly believe when you can recognize that you are a soul living a human experience, I truly believe it's at that point that you can actually experience love in a way, in its entirety. Love can only be experienced when you can surrender any attachment or expectation. Love is all that we've got. And I think I'll probably do another video on this separately. Love is all we have. The love vibration is the most powerful on the planet. We were sent here to these dark, heavy times in a three-dimensional matrix to experience all of this disharmony and this anger and this fear and this panic, particularly at the moment, 2020, 2021, you know, all of this trauma that we're stepping through. We were sent here to experience it, so that we would remember that our soul journey is about remembering that all we are here to do is to love each other. All we are here to do, literally, is remember that I am love and you are love. And this is the whole point of why I shared about the brain and the heart. Because people say, I'm a human. No, you're a soul. And although you can't intellectually conceptualize that, I've given you two really good examples of the brain and the heart. You know that you feel these things. You know that you think these things. However, you can't physically see it, but you know what it's like. And that is the same with your soul. When you can surrender all that you have been convinced of, and when you can surrender and say, yes, like, I might not agree with you, but yes, I hear you. That is where the growth takes place. That is where the huge catapult will take place in your life. And I'll be honest with you, I genuinely thought in 2018 I was good. Like, I'd been on my journey for a few years. You know, bearing in mind my journey started in 2013. So I'd been on my journey for 5 years and I was good and I was looking in the best shape of my life at that point. I was happy, I was healthy, my relationships were blooming, and then boom, out of the blue, I had a huge health issue, like a huge curveball. And I had to surrender, and I had to trust people with my life. And I had to trust myself, because I made a commitment to myself to heal, and I had to surrender. I'd never healed anything. Well, I had, but, you know, like, not as serious as what I was looking at that point. Or at least that's not true. Underactive thyroid, serious chronic digestive issues are very serious. But the issue that I was looking to heal in 2018 was something that had nearly killed me. And I do feel when you have like a near-death experience or something like that, or you lose somebody very close to you, or, you know, a big bang almost in your life, that's such a humbling experience. And I genuinely believe that from September 2018, I transformed again. I don't question if people, you know, if people have a difference of opinion of me, that's great. I ask really great questions so that we can kind of like meet somewhere in the middle, or just so that we've got an understanding of each other. I don't hate people for that. I don't at all. I like to have conversations about it. And this is why. It's because I surrendered to the journey. I don't need to be right, because there is no right. We're all right from our own perspective. When you recognize you are a soul living a human experience, your life changes. And it will never change back unless you allow it to, unless you get caught up in the matrix again. It's something that I'm not prepared to do. Not because, you know, anything other than the fact that I cannot even bear the thought of going back to that vibration that I used to live in, and I used to think it was normal. It doesn't bother me what people say. It doesn't bother me what, you know, how people maybe are a bit mean or anything like that to me. It just doesn't bother me in the slightest. I know that I am here and I am doing a job which is essentially loving myself so much, giving everybody else around me permission to do the same, and showing humanity what is possible if we can get to that point of literal love. Divine love is all we have. Surrendering everything from control, you know, material manipulation, all of that stuff. If we can just surrender all of that, essentially our essence is love. I feel that if you go to any person, whether they're in prison, whether they've been in trouble, whether they are a drug addict, like whatever, the essence of the reason why they have started on that path is they didn't feel heard, they didn't feel loved, they didn't feel wanted, they didn't feel needed. They, you know, there will be a lack of love that drove them down that path. I truly believe it. I do not believe that any physical human being, I don't believe any soul comes in and it's dark, it chooses that path. I believe that we've got good, some people have got soul contracts that may be a little bit darker, and I believe that some have got much lighter soul contracts. But at the end of the day, I do truly believe that we are all love. And that might sound wishy-washy, and that might sound, oh, that's all nice and airy-fairy, but that's what we need to do. Remember, everything that we think is from our own perspective. You know, if somebody says something to you and it triggers you and you don't ask questions, you are basically going off with an assumption that you've made. You have decided that because this made you feel that way, that's what they meant, when actually they might not mean that at all. If you think about how many times you've had cross wires with people, this is exactly what I'm talking about. When you can surrender the ego, when you can surrender your control and actually say, what did you mean by that? Or please, could you just explain that a little bit more? Or can I just say to you, when you said that earlier, actually that hurt my feelings, because what I actually meant from it was, and that's all around surrender, being brave enough to say, I am going to be vulnerable with you. I am going to be vulnerable enough with you so that you can then feel safe to be vulnerable back with me. Love is all we are. Love is all we were intended to be. Right, so I hope this video has helped a little bit on the journey of surrendering. I'm going to do a lot more shorter videos because normally I do quite long videos. I'm going to do a lot more shorter videos so they're a little bit easier to digest for you all. I'm going to pop the video here called Hello Ego. That will actually help you recognise a little bit more around when your ego pipes up and you want to be in control and things like that. So please do go and give that a watch, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can get notified whenever I pop new content out. Lots of love, guys.